Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest 50 plus fractional force of nature in podcasting and marketing. Chief menopausal host of Menopausal podcast host, producer of Event Experience and AEC Perspectives, podcast producer of Wave Makers, none other than Maze Rachel Moore.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. See you.
Welcome.
Be here.
Welcome. Yes, welcome, Miss Rachel. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Of course. Happy to be here. As you mentioned, I'm a 50 plus force of nature. I am 50 years old, but hopefully not looking like your traditional 50-year-old. I'm tatted up mom, wife, business owner. My handle everywhere is Rachel has the mic because I'm always talking to a microphone. But I live in Colorado in the United States, and I love traveling, and marketing is my jam. Anything that you can pretty much put out into the public sphere, that is what I love to do, and influence minds and win hearts and all that good stuff. But that's me, and hopefully we'll see. Oh, I knew he was going to show up. My cat is making an appearance as well. I do have a cat here as well, but that's pretty much me in a
Okay.
nutshell.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Rachel. You look like 30 anyway, so
Thank you.
forget the 50. Okay.
I'll take that.
I hope you can share your secret or skincare regime. So today let's talk about the single type of content you should focus on, just like your skin. So tell us, Mr. Rachel, you argue for focusing on a single type of content. What is the fundamental problem with the post or title of everything approach that is a strategy solves?
Yeah, the most important form of content people should be focusing on, simply because a big problem that we have nowadays with content is you're supposed to be everywhere. Like I just mentioned, my handle, you can find me everywhere, but I'm everywhere, right? I'm on all the social media platforms. I try to be everywhere. But that's what we're intended to be. That's what we're expected to be doing is I've got to put content out everywhere. But we all know that if you're being smart about it, you really need to make content that adapts to wherever your target audience is, right? So this podcast has a target audience. Any business out there has a target audience. You do want more people to know about you, but you also want to be very specific about what content you're putting out to your target audience. And the big key to that, and anyone who does marketing or content marketing or anything like that knows, is being able to repurpose content. The best thing you can do is to make and then cut it up, push it out in ways that make sense on whatever channels you're using. And so what I tend to form, I think the single most important piece of content, frankly, it's what we're doing right now. And that is long form video. And when I say long form, I'm talking about like not a 15-second snap, right? It's not a 3-minute short necessarily on YouTube. On TikTok, it's a little bit less than 60 seconds. I'm talking something that's more than a few minutes long, where you're interviewing something, you're covering topics, you're digging in, you're sharing tutorials or what have you. But any of that can be spliced and diced into clips, or it can be put out in long form. You can tease people out and bring them to the long form via the short form stuff that you're cutting up. You can do blogs from transcripts. You can do white papers. You can even like do spin-off content or series of emails and blogs and things like that. So a video gives you everything you really fundamentally need. And let's not forget, as we're doing right now, video is one of the most highly consumed types of content out there. Everybody's watching videos on their phone. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I think that creating long form video is the key to people's success. And you really only need to maybe do one like or two a month, and then you can split it up, repurpose it, get it out to your channels, to your target audience, and just create that funnel to get to what you want them to understand about you and your business.
Miss Rachel, beyond saving time, how does specializing in one content format fundamentally change the relationship you build with your audience?
Oh my gosh. So my big mainstay, and you'll see my on my website, I really think trust is fundamental to how we interact with people today. And that can be you and I talking on this podcast, people listening to me. It can be me talking to business professionals or colleagues, or if you're talking about business or transactional stuff, like you want to have trust between someone selling you something and you buying something from them. And when you're talking about video, I mean, everybody can kind of decide for yourselves right now. We did a little intro of me. You're listening to me talk. You're getting to see my expression, hear my voice. There's a tangible person there, not AI generated either. But although that's all over the place and that's really tough. But
Yes.
we're developing right now. There is a trust happening and it's building, even if people don't realize it, that they are like, okay, well, that's Rachel Moore, and she told me where she's from, and she told me a little bit about herself, and I'm getting a sense of who she is as a person, and she's telling me things that she has experienced and know. That is going to reach so much farther and have so much more impact and influence than if I'm writing it to you. If I'm, you can listen to it, and that's something as well. But video just really does create that fundamental trust. It is the next best thing to, if you and I could meet at a coffee shop somewhere around the world and start just chit chatting about our day and what's important to us. This is the next best thing. And it's the fundamental way that we can build trust with each other around the globe, even if we're geographically separated. And that's what's key when you're dealing with, trying to put content out over the internet. How can I still increase that trust factor between you and me and my target audience? So that's why I think video is a must do. I know there are people out there who get kind of wigged out and scared to be on video, and I totally understand. But as I always tell people, y'all, there are channels out there on the internet where people are literally eating um, Milky Way candy bars with a crack, with the wrapper into their microphone. It's ASMR. They have millions of subscribers. If there's an audience for people hearing you eat and watching you eat, I think you have an audience, even if you're a total introvert and don't like being on video. So that's why it's so important.
Truly, truly important. We have 8 billion people on Earth, people. So stop procrastinating and share your talents to the world. Don't be shy. So, what is the key? Yes, key question someone should ask themselves to identify what is that single most powerful content type should be for their unique business and audience.
That's a great question. So, this is where you actually go to the audience to get this answer, because your audience is going to have specific questions they want to know. Why do they keep coming back to you? Or if they're even looking to you in the first place, what are they missing? Every human being out there has a pain point, at least one. There's something that is not working as well in their life, there's something they're missing. And again, that can be business or professional. And this is where I think businesses, even, and I know I've been talking a lot about business, but businesses are comprised of people. And if you are a person working at a business and you have a business dilemma, guess what? That's going to have an impact on your personal life. Maybe you're not sleeping as well as at night because you're up and you're thinking, you're anxious about the way something's going to turn out. If you're going to be able to deliver a bottom line or revenue to your stakeholders, if you're going to be able to launch a campaign, if you are going to be able to hire the right people, everybody's got pain points. That's where you need to start, because I can be very egotistical and think, well, I know exactly what my target audience wants to hear from me. But the best way to proceed is say, well, what do you need from me? I've actually on my YouTube channel, but wait, there's more. I've asked people saying, hey, I put a video of this content out there, but what do you want from me? What would you like me to make next? And they'll tell me, say, I could really use a video that talks about being a podcast guest. How do I be an effective podcast guest? What are some fundamentals I need to practice and do? Well, I should make a video about that. They just told me what they want and need. I should make that video, or I should make that content and get it in their hands. But that's what my answer to that would be: is start with your audience. It's easy and free to put a survey out nowadays, a Google form or anything like that. Or even just asking people in a poll on a social media post. You can ask them what they want from you, and then take those answers to heart and go create that content and give them what they're asking for. And it's just going to build from there, and they'll keep telling you what they need as things go along.
Does your single type of content dictate your primary platform, or should your choice of platform dictate the type of content you create?
That is a great question. So, if we're talking about long form video, obviously YouTube is the gigantic channel out there, and I know we're broadcasting this on Twitch as well. So I don't want to leave Twitch to the side either. But and I want to emphasize something too. Those are all technically rented land, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I can have a YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel. I have a couple. My YouTube channel is called But Wait, There's More. But guess what? The domain that channel sits on is youtube.com, right?
Mm.
YouTube could, in its infinite wisdom or mistake, decide to take my channel down. And I have several hundred videos on my channel, and suddenly, poof, they're gone. Oh no, what happened? I just lost my channel. Now that's awful. And that's why you always need to like be keeping your stuff as well. Don't ever put content just on a platform or a domain that you don't personally own. You always need to have, like I do, have your own domain so you can keep your own content on there. But you again want to pay attention to where your target audience is. So if YouTube is great because you can put stuff there, you can embed things onto your website from YouTube. But, maybe your target audience is a younger set of people. I would definitely say maybe Facebook is not the way. You definitely want to go to Instagram, TikTok, even Snapchat. But then you're talking about too, people are using communities nowadays more. Discord, even Slack has communities that people are participating in and aren't necessarily business related, and groups online. So it really is going to drive back to that question we asked earlier. Where is your target audience hanging out? You do want to put those videos and those clips out there where they're able to ingest in the most natural place they're visiting anyway. But you always want to have that stuff living on your website as well. Because again, I mean, y'all, I don't know who's owning TikTok nowadays, but somebody does. We know that X went under a leadership change just a few years ago. You cannot predict where some of these channels are going to be. Vine is a thing of the past that people speak of in hushed and reverent tones because it was such a great medium of short form video, and it's gone. So you just really need to make sure you own your content wherever you're dishing it out on platforms. Just make sure people have somewhere to find it on your own domain.
Indeed. And Ms. Rachel, let's talk about the talent versus enjoyment balance. How do you weigh raw talent for a format against genuine enjoyment?
Mm. It's a balance for sure. One thing I think that's great about where we are today is people are looking for, they don't really care so much about something that's highly produced. That's always great. I really do care about some of those fundamentals. Like even today, we're caring about, can people hear me? Can they see me? You want a decent production value. But again, going back to trust, you also want to see the authentic person. My cat showed up and I don't know if y'all saw there in the kind of periphery here. My cat was just actually walking across my desktop as I was talking to you, which was a little bit distracting for me, but that's authentic. That's real life for me. Is my cat likes to enter the fray. Sometimes he just happens to know when I'm on video. I always look back to, and some y'all might have to dig back in this. This was several years ago, but BBC did an interview with this gentleman who was trying to have a very serious interview, and his kids came into the frame behind him, and it was hilarious.
Yes.
And that kicked off. That was pre-COVID, by the way. But that kicked off this whole like, hey, maybe it's okay if we're just real people, and then that shows on these videos. And that's what I think is so key. Of course, you want to have your own talent and your knowledge, and you want to be able to bring that across. And I do have some broadcasting experience and what have you, but I'm also super real. There are times when I come on videos like this and I'm not wearing makeup and stuff. And I'm like, look, this is what you get today, and
Yes.
or I'll say, hey, I'm going through this today, just so you all know I'm a real person. So it is a balance. Like I think you just said, there's talent and there's production value, but then that authenticity, I think, is really the most important thing. But if you can strike that good balance in there, you got winning content right there.
Definitely authenticity for sure. How can be sure your audience preferred way of consuming content aligns with their chosen format? What if they love podcasts but you chosen long form writing?
Oh, see, that's the thing. And this is hard because again, our ego gets in the way. You do need to do what your audience wants. And this is, I think, a pitfall people can fall into because you can say, "Well, I'm marketing to everybody. I'm creating content for everybody." No, you're not. It was interesting. I saw on Threads last night. I saw a post that said, "Well, I guess my YouTube channel is catering to the boomer generation because the primary audiences for their YouTube videos were people who were like age 45 and up." And that came as a surprise to them. They're like, "What in the heck is going on?" Like they were kind of figuring that their stuff would be, visited and viewed and consumed by younger audiences. This is where looking at your data is really important. The data will not lie. These platforms are very good at spying on us and knowing how old we are, where we're coming from. Even Google Analytics will tell you like, hey, here's where most of your website visitors they like to shop versus going to see movies, or they like to travel versus participating in business conferences or something like that. It can tell you all of that. And it's a hard lesson. And you might be like, oh, I love video. And I'll give one last example. I've been test driving a newsletter I put out each month, but it's not a newsletter email that's traditional. It's actually a news reel. And it's a video, usually about 20 minutes long, of me just kind of going over like a marketing tip, a trust tip, a podcasting tip. And I'm looking at the data and trying to determine, is this resonating? Am I growing my list? Are people watching this video? And I have to assess that. And maybe I'm got to be like, you know what? Maybe they don't want it that long. Maybe they want clips instead. And that's what I need to do. So you got to pivot to what your audience is going to respond to. And remember, your target audience are the people that can make your business basically keep alive. Are they the ones who are getting you money and income? That's the audience you care about. So you've got to kind of create you've got to build it and they will come, but you can't build the wrong thing and then they will not come to it.
Miss Rachel, as a fellow podcaster, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, first of all, one of them is to keep my cat from coming into every single podcast I record. I'm currently very slowly scaling up my podcast business. I specifically focus on B2B podcasts. As you mentioned in the intro, I host and produce 2 different B2B podcasts. I produce a third. And I'd like to increase that and build my business. I actually have a couple of contractors that work with me, and I'd love to get to the point even where I have some speakers that are podcast hosts and can be under my label, and they can be podcast hosts. And then my whole company will like produce those and get those rolled out. So I'd like to scale that up. And I'm currently trying to work on having a podcast network where I've got not just business podcasts, but a couple different kinds of podcasts that I help to produce and get published out there into the cosmos. So I'd like to keep making that bigger and better. And hey, like I said, I'm 50 years old. I don't want to do this until I die. I want to do it for a while. I like being on camera, but at some point I'd like to just sit back and be like, look at all the cool things that I helped make happen, that all the cool podcast hosts, all the cool topics, all the cool companies we're helping. That's where I want to end up. So that's kind of my goal right there.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Rachel. Looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people that want to enter in podcasting world?
Oh man. I actually got taken to task on this, or I started a little bit of a ruffle on the podcasting subreddit last week. And so there are going to be people out there probably going to get their feathers ruffled by what I'm about to say. So I was basically, I had listened to a clip of the Joe Rogan Experience, and I was like, why am I? One of his guests sounded like there's Darth Vader on the just breathing super heavy into the mic, and I'm like, why did they take care of that in post production? Why am I hearing this heavy breathing? And so I made a point saying, I really think that when I hear something like that, it actually gives my own ego and my own confidence a boost. I lose a little bit of that imposter syndrome that I can make good content. And that's where I'm going with this is like, I think the most important thing, even with this podcast where I know there's video component, the most important thing to a podcast is audio. If you
Yes.
can't hear clearly without annoying buzzing, feedback, crackling, you know, when if someone's too loud, the gain's too loud, it's distortion. That is all just going to bug you, and it creates friction with what you could otherwise passively ingest as you're hearing it. And let's be honest, a lot of people, even with video podcasts, are listening actively but watching passively. They may not be fixated to the screen the entire time. That's why I really think audio is the thing. So y'all, if you're wanting to podcast, it's pretty affordable to get yourself a good mic. Literally anything will be better than the laptop mic that's on your system. Something that is close to your face. AirPods are fine. Bluetooth earbuds are fine, but better to get yourself just a decent microphone and, have some in-ear monitors so you don't echo, but just get that for yourself so that you can have a very clear voice and make sure if you're talking to anybody else that they have good audio as well. Audio is key for putting out a good podcast if you're interested in getting into podcasting.
Indeed. Thank you for that advice, Mr. Rachel. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, and y'all, I'm not going to do a nonfiction business book here. I'm a fiction girl. I have loved reading fiction since I was a wee lady. And so Lord of the Rings is honestly one of the greatest works of literature out there, but it's also a freaking riveting, awesome fantasy fiction book. And it's 3 books. There are 3 different books in that series, but the whole book itself is called The Lord of the Rings, and I highly recommend it. You learn so much about diversity. You learn about overcoming obstacles. My biggest takeaway that I love from it, and if anyone's seen the movie, hopefully a lot of you have, there's a quote from it that says, even the smallest person can change the course of the future. So true. Everybody here listening to this, you have power to influence even the small circle around you and beyond it. And frankly, it is beyond that small circle. Everything you do in your life and everything you say will have influence. And even micro decisions, and even if you think nobody's paying attention, you do have the power to change the course of history for everyone around you. So that's my big takeaway, and I highly recommend reading it. It's a great read. I go back to it every couple of years. But Lord of the Rings, go get it if you haven't read it, and go reread it if you have.
Yes. Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Rachel. And how do you stay committed to your single format when a new shiny platform or content trend
Ooh,
emerges?
oh man, you have just hit my Achilles heel. I am a sucker for new tech. So that is really tough for me, and this is why I said it's not easy. I'm even actually circling back to Snapchat now because I'm like, I as I'm 50 years old, it's really funny, y'all. And some of you who are on Snapchat or younger are gonna be like, oh my God, just go away, people. A lot of us older people are actually going onto Snapchat now because our kids are on Snapchat. And we're like, uh-oh, I guess I better go check it out. But when you talk about new tech, and this is good idea for anybody. If a new social platform comes out, go grab your handle on it. Just go sign up for it. It's free to sign up. Go sign up for it and grab a handle. You may never use it again, but that handle is key, man. I've worked really hard to have the same handle across all apps that I'm on. And it gets me through a lot. It's so much easier to tell people, yeah, just find me at my handle. It's literally the same everywhere versus telling them something different. But yeah, it really, to me, it's a watch and see moment. And the whole adage about, well, marketers ruin everything. Yes, we do. It's true. Every time there's a new platform comes out, we're all like, ooh, how do we monetize it? How do we do brand content on it? And we do wind up ruining it a little bit. But yeah, I have to decide, like, well, is this something my audience, again, going back to that audience, is that something my audience is going to gravitate to? Are they trying it out? Are they going to wind up preferring it over maybe another app or platform we're already using? So when that comes down to that, I would just say keep your ears and eyes open. Be ready to pivot if you need to. Go grab that handle right away, and then you can make sure that you're still relevant.
Indeed. Is this a lifelong commitment, or how do you know when it's time to evolve your primary content type?
Yeah, that's I think you need to watch your metrics if you're seeing drop offs, and also keep surveying, asking your target audience, put up poll questions. Like, has anyone heard of this new, like when Threads came out, when Meta first created Threads? Hey, has everybody heard of Threads or Blue Sky, or things like that? Are you all going over there? And just ask them if they're exploring it or not. You might be the person that prompts them to go try it out, and they might come back and be like, all right, it's decent. But watching your own metrics, and I think too, there's ways to look up as well online to say like, hey, how many people and what kind of demographics are starting to gravitate toward these different apps. If you look at Facebook, the demographics on Facebook have completely changed from what they used to be. I think everybody really used to be on Facebook and be on it a lot, and now it really has skewed to be older folks. There's still young people on it, but sometimes they're only on it to keep track of their family members who are older. And so
Yes.
it'll change over time. So you do have to keep a pulse on that, check in at least every few months to be like, hey, what are things looking like now? And sometimes that can pivot based on a single moment. I mean, shoot, we've all, when certain celebrities are like, hey, join Instagram and do their first post, and it's like, breaks the platform. Well, then everybody might rush over there, but do they stay? And that's what you need to keep an eye on. Like, okay, is it just a flash in the pot? It's like, oh, I am going over there right now, but I'm not going to stay there. Or is it something like, oh, I went and I liked it, and this is going to be my new app that I check in the morning when I wake up, and the last thing I do before I go to bed. It's going to change.
It gonna change for sure. So, Miss Rachel, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. I'm a book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season. I'm a food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season. I'm a baby podcast, Law 101, and mental health 101. Love letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review, music 101, and science 101, and sex 101 in its second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Rachel, if someone is convinced but overwhelmed by their existing content chaos, what is the very first step they should take in transition to this focus model?
Right. You do want to, I would say first take a look at your existing content. Is there anything there that is not already in video form that you could turn into video? And y'all, some of that could just be, okay, I wrote a blog, and I would say definitely look at stuff that has been your highest performing stuff. Even if you're like, okay, maybe your blog has never done that great, but you can still tell, usually through metrics, whether it's through your website hosting service or Google Analytics, which I highly recommend the latter. It's free to sign up for. But go check like what is your highest performing content over time. And then can you make a video out of that? Typically you can. Even if people are like, hey, well, and a lot of recorders, I know we're using one today, Riverside, they have a built-in teleprompter. You literally could cut and paste your blog content into a teleprompter and just get on a camera, talk to the camera into a microphone, and read the blog content. Or you could go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to make this maybe a little bit more concise, or turn this into a video script for me. So it's not maybe like so much written form, and you can. So I would say start with that. Start with your existing content that performs pretty well. And it can be any content, social media post, an email that did really well, blogs, etc. But then, yeah, go see if like, well, can I turn that into video? And like I said, you now have help. There's AI out there. You can be like, well, can I turn this blog, or I'm going to copy and paste this in there? How could I turn this into a good video? It actually comes up with some pretty decent ideas, and at least gets you from blank page into some decent ideas. And then it's super easy to create video content nowadays. So yeah, start with what's working for you already, and then go try making some long form video out of it. See how that does.
Indeed, Miss Rachel Moore. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your podcast, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, please. Obviously, visit But Wait There's More, MOORE.com. That's my website. But I would love if people would go find, go connect with me on social. Rachel Has the Mic, MIC, everywhere. And please go listen to my podcast, Menopause, that is on YouTube, and learn a little bit more about why I'm 50 plus and fabulous.
Yeah, 50 plus and fabulous, like me, Mr. Rachel. Thank you so much. Yes, people, let's support Miss Rachel more, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. So, Miss Rachel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Monica, people, see you soon.